All right, back we go doing some charts. October 3rd, Friday. This stock is incredible. CVNA, Carvana. And let's go back to the daily chart. Let's look at the last year. So basically, this is climbing 259, big dip 175. Let me move my head out of here. Look at the dip. Remember the four horsemen? I have a video on that, I believe. That's when, well, not RSI. Yeah, it's RSI, excuse me. RSI, money flow, stochastic, CCI, they're all oversold. One, two, three, four. That's the time to buy. Look what happened. 175, you get a 292. Same thing with the short. Look at this. You're all oversold. You go right down. And then, this was going back and forth, a lot of volatility, 148 in April. Of course, the low gives a right to 351. Now it bounces in between. Look at that volume here. It gapped up to 413. You're at 401. Is this move finally going to end? Well, if this move ends, the market will end too, probably. Everything's going to be coinciding. The weekly chart on this, let's go back 5 years. Let's go back 10 years. 10 years. Look at Carvana. 2018, it's at $20. Goes to 115. Bottoms at 22 in 2020 with COVID. It goes to 376. Can you imagine buying this at 22 and 376? That's why you always want to hold longer term. If you can, just keep investing as much as you can. I know it's not that easy with a lot of bills. People just can't throw all their money at that. But that's what you want to do if you have money. You don't want to spend it on useless stuff and then go broke. It's 376. This comes down all the way to $19.6. Look at this. And then 2024, we started to make the way up. I remember people on CNBC were saying this would go bankrupt possibly. Someone came on. I wish I had that video. And I was watching. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I don't think so. The market cap was still big. I'm like, there's no way this will be bought out, if anything. And then it went right back up to 68. A lot of volatility in 2025. Goes to 148, takes off again to 413. Look at that wick right here. Let's go to the monthly because the monthly, you could have made $1 million on the monthly on Carvana, probably a few times. So going back to 2018, 20, look at this 28, 16. There's the low on COVID 22. You go right to 376. Now invest it probably like 50 grand, 376. That's probably like $1 million you would have made 50 grand. And then short it, you go right back down to 19. It's a total money long. It's almost like a pyramid. I call it a pyramid, and then you short. So you just made a round trip. You long, short. Here's the four horsemen on the monthly. RSI is below 30. Look at money flow. I love money flow because it tells you where the money's going. The money was elevated that whole time, started to fade right at this wick, and then oversold. Stochastic, CCI. This is a new thing I have, a TTM squeeze. And you can see the peak was right here, and then it starts to lessen. Then you have a crossover right here, the zero line, basically 100, 0, minus 100, and then this has been bullish ever since. Look at it go up $6. Really these little blips along the way. Then you had 268, did fall to 148, goes to 375. And this is put an absolutely huge move. So we go up, right back down, back up. Now the next move is going to be a big drop. Well, that's why I say if the market drops, this will probably drop too again. There's some big collapse. So that will be interesting to see. But again, this could have made you a million from $3, 50,000. Let's just take a look. Let me get my calculator out here. 50,000 divided by 3.55. So 14,000 shares. And then you go, and let's say we're at now 375. So 371, we'll just say 371, because you're holding this whole time. You would actually made from 50,000 $5.2 million. 5.2 million, 253,000 off of 50,000 holding from 23 to now. Now, what's the margin that if you're holding that long? Like it's probably you owe like 100,000 or something. Who cares? You made 5 million. I have no idea, but that's what's possible. Long, short, back long. And what's going to happen next? That is the key question. That is the key question. Is this going to have another drop all the way down? That would mean the market's probably going down too. Let's look up Carvana. Can't believe $5 million. Even if you didn't put 50,000, you'd like 10,000, 5,000. All right, Carvana here. Carvana upgraded by Jefferies on signs of faster market share gains. Announces Q3 to 2025 earnings report October 29th. See the charts, for me a wedge. 80 billion market cap. Now, wonder when it was at $3, who's the market cap? That'll be interesting. Income 563 million. Video coming up. All right, sales 16 billion. Institutions own 91%, insider 6%. Look back 5 years, 72% Carvana, 1200, 184. It's all green. And see any news? Buy Carvana stock is falling today. Carvana has competitive moat over CarMax. Yeah, CarMax got crushed. They get crushed. Looking at stock twits, don't need to worry. I'm sure scammers will check stuff over. Carvana. All right, so let's get down. What does Carvana actually do? I can see the news here. Why can I get to the info? Oh, here it is. All right, Carvana, holding company, e-commerce platform, which engages in buying and selling of used cars. So it's all used cars. Company was founded by Ernest Garcia III, Benjamin Houston, Ryan Keaton, 2012 in Tempe, Arizona. So it's buying and selling of used cars. I don't see newer cars or anything, but that's what it just says here on FinViz. So you see the weekly. Look at this weekly. Look at the dip down. Look at this go right down. Big U recovery. Took forever. You know what I mean? And then we go up. There's a few dips. There you're at 375. Monthly chart. Look at this move. Green, all red. The short, all green. Yeah, would the next move be back down again? Well, if you go up this high again, eventually there'll be a drop. They're talking about on CNBC today. People are already speculating there's going to be a big drop. We're getting way too overhyped. Um, I think it has put out the SPY is at the highest quarterly level ever in the market. We'll check that out right now. Let me get a SPY. All right, it's SPY. I can't do the quarterly in this. I gotta get my other chart. Let me get back here. Where's my SPY chart? All right, so you look at SPY here on the monthly 98.36. That is stochastics. I mean, it's so overbought right now, but it gets even crazier. Look at the quarterly. You're going up on the quarterly in this 90 to 100 over bought zone. 99.39. Now you had that back in 2021, 99.39, right at that. Look what happened afterwards, a huge drop. Even going back to 99, 2000, we're only at a 92. 2008, you went to 95 on the quarterly. 2014, you went to 96. 2018 to 1797. 2019, 96. So 99.39. We're at 99.39 now. This is the highest move ever. And this is the problem. Look at this. Go back to 2000, trend line. Highest point, look at the lowest point, 2008. It's 2020 COVID. That goes that way. Then we have an inner line right here. So we're at the highest point ever. Yeah, when you're at the highest point, you can't keep going higher. It's just impossible. You can't keep up this pace, this rate that we're going at. So there eventually will be a big drop. I'd like to see another 20% drop. That'll be great. Flush out the system again. And we'll see what happens that longer term. But CVNA could have made you millions of dollars, actually $5 million on Carvana from the low if you had 50 grand. Now, you can put in your calculations, 1,000, 5,000, whatever. That's why when bigger companies are oversold, and I'm not talking penny stocks. This was a used car company, billion-dollar company. They weren't going bankrupt. If anything, they probably would have been bought out, restructuring if that would have happened. But again, you can't listen to the people on CNBC. They don't know anything. You know just as much as them. They just are financial advisors managing people's money. They don't look at charts probably. They just look at we got to go long, whatever firm they work for, they got to keep going long and keep buying to, they want to get their end of the year bonus. So that's how it works. You can beat the market, you can beat these people because, they don't really know much. Let's be honest. They don't know much. They're on TV. It's TV land. And that's it. All right. So that's it for this Carvana, a little bit of spy action. Please subscribe to Mike Kim Trades on YouTube. Smash the like button. And we're out.